In this review, I'm going to tell you why you don't have to spend $1,200 on a boosted board, and later you might thank me in the comments below because this is the Pomelo P5. It's different than the boosted board, but actually about half the price. And there's some features about this board that are actually better than the boosted board. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's do some riding, and then we'll come back in my shop and I'll show you on the bench why this might be a little bit better than a boosted board, pros and cons about the Pomelo P5. Let's go ahead and get started riding around Portland on this awesome P5. Okay, let's go ahead and get this review started, and just to let you guys know, I've been a lifelong skater since I was about 6 years old, and I want to talk about some of the better options that this Pomelo P5 has over the boosted board, and mainly it's inside the wheel, direct drive brushless motors. The boosted board does not have that, and the controller that comes along with this skateboard actually looks almost exactly the same as the boosted remote that comes with that one. Now the second generation board right now is selling on their website for like $1,039. I've wanted one for a while, but I didn't want to fork out the cash. Other brands out there are similar price range, like Evolve is like starting out around $1,700. There's another brand called Metro Board, and those are also super popular, but these are also a lot larger and a lot heavier, also expensive. And the original guys, E-Glide, started out in California. I had one of their original boards, and that was a beast. It's this one right here, and it had almost like a lawnmower battery sort of array inside underneath the board, and that was about 40 pounds for that board. The boosted board weighs about 15 pounds and the Pomelo P5 weighs around 17 pounds, so it is a little bit heavier, but they both have about the same range. The Pomelo P5 also has around 6.5, some people are saying 8 miles on this battery. At my weight, around 150 pounds, I'm getting close to 7 miles on this board, and my top speed is around 21 miles an hour, so top speed on the boosted board, you're looking at 22 miles an hour. So again, the specs are very similar, but with the direct drive inside the wheel, I feel like this is a much better board for the price. Now the biggest benefit of this board, and this is nothing to do with price or value or anything like that, this is going to be maintenance for later. When you're running this board, it has no moving parts inside there except for the brushless motor spinning around the axle of the board. Now there's no belts to replace, there's no gears up inside here. It's just a big giant 150 watt brushless motor in each wheel, giving you a total of like 300 watts on here. So plenty to push even a 220 pound guy. And very nice because I've replaced the belts on some of my boards before, like that giant E-Glide that I showed you, and pulling the belt off was completely a really hard job to do, and once I did it once, I really didn't want to do it again. But I'm just going to show you an open view here, and this is the boosted board version 2. You can see that belt wraps around that pinion on the motor. This is kind of an old school design. That original Sector 9 E-Glide board that I had, that I showed you earlier, that board was made in like 2010, and we're in 2018 now. This is like 8 years later. I don't think with brushless motor technology that any electric skateboard should be using any type of belts around the wheel. It's just really kind of old school technology at this point. Everybody should be using brushless motors without this kind of drive system. And also, one of the most critical things about riding an electric skateboard is clearance from the motor system in the back. I don't know how many rocks I've hit with electric skateboards and just drug one like 30 feet down the concrete and almost flew off the board because of rocks. This one has a really nice clearance. Now, if we look at the boosted board design, they have these skid plates here, and the skid plates make me a little bit crazy because they go so low to the ground. I mean, look at that. That's like a ½ inch off of the top of the concrete there for where you're going to be passing over stuff and debris that's going to be on the road. Now, I know guys that have had boosted boards, and these skid plates are usually beat to pieces because they've hit all kinds of things, and these skid plates and the way this is designed, it just grabs stuff on the concrete, and you're probably likely going to go flying off the board. So not the coolest design to have this only like a ½ inch off the ground. And the front trunk just looks like a regular skateboard truck. It's just a little more beefed up. Now on the back side where the battery bay is, this is nice too because there's plenty of clearance, at least 3.5 inches from the pavement to your battery bay. So you're not likely to hit something on the battery bay, which is really nice. Plenty of clearance there. And also in the back here, I really like the clearance back here that this board has. As a skater, it makes me feel a lot more comfortable to ride this even somewhere like downtown. So I really do like that design a lot. And it also comes with a multifunction USB charger. So basically what you can do is plug this into the skateboard. You can charge up your iPhone with the lightning connector side. If you unplug this, you can charge up the remote on the road if it starts to go low, or any of your Android devices. Now, while the remote does look a lot like the boosted board remote, it's not a total clone. It looks like it, but it does have 3 different speed modes. Right here, we're looking at the beginner mode, and that's pressed by that little joystick that I showed you on the transmitter. Now I'm gonna press the next mode up. This is the medium mode, and all the way at the very top, this is the high speed mode. So you're getting full motor power right here. And it does have brakes on here. I don't really use them. I usually let off the throttle and just let it coast to a stop. And you can see how fast these wheels come to a stop. It kind of threw me off the board in my skateboard test with this board. So you gradually pull back on this little wheel, this thumb wheel, and it'll bring you to a stop. Another feature I feel like all modern skateboards should have is a removable battery these days. And this one is removable. It's a little bit hard to get out. You press this button and it pops out. If you carry one across town, you could just pop another one in without having to wait for the recharge. So that's kind of nice. And the charger that comes along with it, it's a 3-prong charger. It slides in on that rail right there, and you're looking at 100 or 240 volts. So it is EU or AC compatible, US standard, and your output is going to be about 2 amps, which is kind of nice. Now I got the EU version, so I had to get an Amazon plug like this. You can get them for about $4. They just plug in just like this, and you're pretty much ready to start charging your board. And I have to mention the deck of this board is super bouncy. It kind of gives you that surfy feel when you're on the board, and I believe it's made of maple. It says in the specs it is made of maple, not bamboo. So let's go ahead and open up the P5 manual. It's actually pretty decently written. Over here on the left hand side you have everything that's included in the box for your skateboard, about your remote, and over on the right hand side this tells you how long it takes the battery to charge. An hour and a half is probably one of the fastest charge times. This next page is talking about operation, where you can switch direction backwards and forwards. So if you want to go the opposite direction with the battery in the back or the front, you have that option. You also have directions on how to turn it on or off. Also repairing up the remote in case it becomes disconnected from the board somehow. That's really important information if that ever happens to you. Acceleration, braking, speed control, different charging rates, and when it's in power on and power off status. Now here's something interesting that I saw in the manual you guys need to pay attention to. It says do not use the skateboard after removing the battery pack, as to avoid damage on the motherboard. So that's pretty important. You wouldn't want to fry the motherboard in your skateboard. So on this page we have error alerts, low signal, motor jam, and overheat alerts, and it's going to buzz on the remote in your hand when it does that. Also a short circuit alert, which is cool if you're riding in the rain. You have other specs here on the skateboard, the length, the width, etc. there. And also some riding safety tips. These are kind of funny. Keep your body balanced during the riding. Don't hit the brake at high speed, which it did to me. It threw me off the board a little bit. And practice the P5 at low speed, basically beginner mode if you're a new player. Player, maybe skater they mean there. And one rider at a time. Obviously we're not going to put more than one person on this. Don't ride in heavy traffic, bumpy or wet pavements, and over 17 degrees. And teenagers, 15 years old, people over 60, oh man, come on. I've got some old dudes that rip at 60 that still ride skateboards. Drinking alcohol, you're definitely not going to do that. Rainy days, you probably shouldn't do it. You can, but maybe not. It's probably not the best idea. And back here we have some kind of warranty cards, and I'm not sure if these are actually something that you can fill out and send to them, but it does have their website on here, eFreeFeet, the manufacturer, and it has an email there so we can bug them if we need to. Now, aside from a drive system on an electric skateboard, the deck is very important because if you don't have enough flex in the center of the board, it's going to ride like a stiff board. Also, you want some decent grip tape on the board, and that you want it to be tacky enough on your feet, but not overly grippy. Now, on the front of this board, they cut away from the wheels, which allows the board to pivot left and right without giving you wheel bite. This is really important because if this board's wheel hits that deck, it's going to throw you off the board. It acts like kind of like an instant braking. And I've had it on regular skateboards where I've took a hard turn, even doing some downhill, and just been thrown off my board. So it's really nice. Front and rear, they have that same design. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and summarize this review, and let's give this board a star rating. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I never give 5-star reviews on my channel, so I'm trying to find some negatives that I don't like about it. Maybe the grip tape was a little too grippy, but for what I'm looking at here, this board costs $600, and it's half the price of a boosted board version 2. Removable battery, 6.5 mile range to 8 mile range for lighter riders, and 20 miles an hour is really good on an electric skateboard. And also inside the wheel, direct drive brushless motors and plenty of clearance on the bottom of the trucks. It's just a superior design to the booster board in my opinion. I really like the brushless motors inside the wheel. I've seen another manufacturer who's actually a friend of mine who started Inboard in California. He's one of the first guys ever to do inside the wheel direct drive. So I gotta say a props to Ryan for that, and Nate over at Inboard. Awesome stuff they do. So check them out as well. But for half the price of a boosted board, this is just a no-brainer, especially if you have someone in your family that has wanted a boosted board forever, like your son or daughter. This would be an easy birthday gift, and you can get extra batteries for it for about $175. Also, make sure that your kid or anyone else riding this board is wearing a helmet because it does stop kind of quick. So thanks again for watching this review, guys. You're awesome, and I appreciate you subscribing to my channel for my reviews. I'll bring you more honest reviews coming up on the channel. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.